When was the last time you've updated your farm estate plan? Have you made sure that it is keeping up with the farm economy and what land prices are doing? If you haven't revisited that plan in the last 5 years, it's probably outdated and you're probably setting your farm successor up to fail. Watch this video to learn more. I'm Jason Wagner, the farm lawyer. I work with family farmers every single day to help them pass the farm on to the next generation. At my law firm, Wagner Ehler, we've been doing it for over 50 years. What does your farm estate plan say? If you haven't worked with a farm lawyer or you haven't reviewed that estate plan in the last 5 years, I'm worried for you. I think you might be setting your farm successor up to fail. And here's why. So many farm estate plans that I read use this 20% discount rule, and it sucks. Here's how it usually works. That estate plan says, give all of my assets to all of my kids in equal shares, but give my farm successor the right to buy out his or her siblings at a 20% discount. And maybe they can pay that off over time. You were well-intentioned and you received the guidance to set it up that way, but that's not going to work. And you might not have realized it, but the land that you're sitting on has gone up in value significantly. Farm profits have not. That means that every acre of land that's bought is going to be coming at a much greater cost in terms of farm production. What do I mean by that? I'm just going to take a very average looking farm in Minnesota. Minnesota's average farm size is right around 400 acres. So this is going to be a typical average farm. This is going to be a crop farm that we're going to give in this example. So here's my example. We take a 400-acre farm, and I'm going to assume that's at $11,000 an acre. And at least here in southeastern Minnesota, we're seeing those prices and then some. You know, I've seen auctions $12,000 to $14,000 an acre just in the past few weeks. So we're going to take it at $11,000 an acre. We're going to say there's the building site, grain setup, put $500,000 on that, and I put $500,000 on machinery. So our farm has a value from an estate standpoint of $5.4 million. And remember, when it comes to the estate, and a lot of times how those farm estate plans are set up with the 20% discount, it's a 20% discount off of the appraisal. And the appraisal looks at all of those auctions. They look at what is the fair market value. Fair market value means what would a stranger pay for it. So these are stranger prices that we have to use because that's the way you have it set up. And in my example, I'm going to say there's 3 kids, 1 farming, 2 non-farming. So again, our farm estate plan says give everything to my 3 kids in equal shares. Let my farming heir buy out my non-farming heirs at a 20% discount. So, you know, we know, okay, great. They've inherited $1.8 million in value, but they'll still have to buy out $3.6 million in value. Oh, but wait, we gave them a discount because, you know, we want them to succeed. So now they have to buy out $2,880,000. If you plug that in and figure out what that is going to look like, let's say we're going to say, hey, you can buy it out over time. We're going to do it at a low interest rate, which right now is, 4.5%, 5%. And you can pay that over 20 years. Awesome. So what is that payment? $231,000 a year on a 400-acre farm. That's a land cost annually of $578 an acre. You're not paying that right now. Your farm does not have that cost right now. The moment you die, that's what you've told your farm successor. For the next 20 years, I want you to pay $577 an acre to keep this farm running because I gave you a 20% discount. This is what I mean when your farm estate plan is set up to fail if you haven't reviewed it and you still are walking around with a 20% discount inside of it. So our farmer is now having to pay his siblings $231,000 a year. Siblings are getting that. They're keeping their jobs. They're getting paid vacations. They're getting retirement accounts. And they're getting a check for $231,000 a year. Well, let's say you didn't put a contract for deed on it. Let's say that we want him to go get a farm loan. I put in what here I see is a pretty straightforward farm loan. 20 years, 6.75% interest. That's $261,000 a year. $652 an acre land cost before taxes, before insurance, before inputs, before any machinery repairs or costs or anything like that. This is our baseline. This is basically our cash rent price. Oh, but wait, you don't actually even get to deduct all of this because it's principal payments, whereas at least cash rent, you can deduct that, keep your taxes lower for cash flow. Well, maybe we'll do it at a lower rate, 4.5%, spread it out over 30 years. Maybe this is a beginning farmer loan, or maybe this is just a more friendly contract for deed. $176,000 a year, $442 an acre. We are not even at break even. We're still losing day one. Well, how about we up the discount? What if we give them a 50% discount? Do you think that's going to help? Let's run the numbers. Again, they're going to inherit $1.8 million. They're going to purchase $3.6 million, but at a 50% discount, that drops it to $1.8 million. And again, we're going to say they can pay that on a contract for deed, 20 years at 5%, $144,000 a year. Your land cost per acre, $361 an acre. For something that you are now paying $0 an acre for before taxes and insurance. It's not going to work. You've just increased the cost to operate that farm by $361 an acre, even with a 50% discount, every year for the next 20 years. Okay? This is what I'm talking about when I say your farm succession plan has to be intentional, and you've got to get something in place now to make that farm succeed. They might be able to make this work, but we've now basically wasted an entire generation of all they're going to do is pay for that farm their entire working career. What does that say to the next generation after that? Do we want this farm to continue or not? Do we want this farm to just survive, or do we want it to thrive? These are questions you've got to ask yourself, and you've got to look at your farm estate plan. Am I working with the right attorney? Do they understand these issues, these numbers? Have I done a cross-section analysis of my farm estate plan and tested it? Would you write a check right now for $144,000 for the privilege of keeping your farm another year? I want you to do it again next year and the year after that and every year for the next 20 years and see if you're going to be successful. Because if you can't do it, why do you think your farm successor can? I know those are tough numbers to look at, but that is the landscape that I see every single week walking in my doors. We've got an outdated farm estate plan. We've got this 20% discount. Pull up your documents. If you did a farm estate plan and you didn't work with a farm lawyer, I'm not going to be one bit surprised if that's what you see in there is a 20% discount. Run the numbers. It's not going to work. Think about it. That farm successor, okay, now they're buying out that farm. Maybe they got a 20% discount. Maybe they got a steeper discount. As we just walked through, they're going to have to fight and scrape to keep that farm together because the land-based cost is going to be so high that they're at break-even numbers or they're at loss numbers. That means when they're ready to pass that farm on to the next generation after them, we don't have an inherited farm and a legacy. What we've left them is inherited debt because we thought it was more important to leave our non-farming heirs a farm inheritance rather than making sure that the farm can succeed in the challenging landscape that we have today. There's a lot of videos on my channel where I talk about what we can do to make sure that your farm is set up for success. But if you haven't kept up with the farm estate plan and you haven't actually done an analysis of what happens when you die in your farm estate plan, I think you're going to be really surprised and a little bit disheartened to know that that's what you're walking around with. I recommend that you take a look at it. If it doesn't look right, call a farm lawyer. Call my office, 507-288-5567. See what we can do. If you like what you've heard, follow me on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out farmlawyer.com.